an extra book
Oh, nice.
so I could give one each.
We can share.
You
We
can-
live together.
You know?
Conveniently.
All right. It is a pleasure to present this to you. And
thank
before you leave here, I'll be happy to autograph that for you. Okay. Well, and congratulations to you baptized and married the next day. All right. We're going to talk about God turning dirt into significance. And this particular presentation is very close to my heart for a number of reasons. I will share just a few with you along the way. But just to give you a little background of me, been born in Jamaica. I didn't have a father that I knew. I remember the first time I heard his voice. I think I was 7 years of age, and he walked by my little town, called my name, and I never actually saw him, and he never came back, and I never met him ever again until just a few years ago. So my mother had 4 boys, and I was the baby, but not spoiled. I just want to be sure, say that. And grew up in a very humble home. I never had a chance to say, Daddy, can we do this together? Where are you, Daddy? I had my other cousins around, and they had their father. I didn't have one. And it was an interesting life, very interesting. In my teens, however, I met a gentleman. His name was Leo B. Scott. He was a businessman. He owned a grocery store, a gas station, a restaurant, and they call it in Jamaica, they call it a bar. This is a big complex he had. And to shorten the story, he took me into his family as his son. He taught me his business. He had other kids around, mark you, but he made me so special. I recall I would be in the store, and when his rich friends came to shop, he would make sure that I would be the one to serve them. I can remember there was some other dirty work that needed to be done, and he would have the other employees do it. He would never have me. He used to call me Monsieur. Now, of course, my name is Ewart, and affectionately, he called me Monsieur. That meant so much to me that my son, who now lives in Oregon, I call him, guess what? Monsieur. And that is the tie, the affection of what Mr. Scott gave to me by bringing me into his family and making me feel special. I met a young lady by telephone a few years ago. He was a daughter of Mr. Scott, Leah Scott, whom I didn't know about, but she was in the area. And she knew of me being at the store, and she would tell me, when I met her, how she saw me conducting myself in Daddy's business. How arrogant, maybe so, I was. How stately I walked. She even showed me how I walked. because I now had a father that made me feel special, significant. When you contrast that to a little boy who didn't have a father, didn't have anybody to call daddy. And now for the first time in my life, I had Scotty. Call him Dad. I remember there were afternoons he would take off from the store, and he and I would get off in his car, and we would go to the beach and just lie into the warm waters of the Caribbean. Are you guys getting jealous? But that's what a father and a son do. I still think of Scotty. I still hurt my daddy, Scotty. And to tell you one more little story about that situation. Been born and grew up in Jamaica, which is very much like other third world countries where you're taught to respect the dead. Now let me clarify. When I say respect the dead, I mean be afraid of the dead. We wouldn't walk close to, we wouldn't touch. It is an awful feeling. Superstitiously, we're afraid of the dead. And I was one of them. Even afraid to walk in the daylight, worse at night. Afraid of the dead. When Scotty died, we were living in Canada. I wasn't able to attend his funeral. But I'm told where he was buried. And you'd never believe it. For someone who was so much afraid of the dead, I had resolved in my mind that I want to find his graveside, just to go and sit there and touch his grave because of how he changed my life. He made me feel special. He made me feel significant. And to this day, I'm still living in that. My wife and I went to the Philippines, as you've heard. She was born there. We went back. I think for whatever reason, we went back. And when we landed in the southern parts of the Philippines, in a great big airline that looked like this one on the screen, everybody was in a straight line from the plane because the plane was distant out and you had to walk to the building, and everybody was in a straight line right over. I looked way in the distance and I saw a group of people. They were standing by a fence with a great big old sign, and the sign says, "Welcome, Pastor Brown." And I just broke line from everybody and headed straight over to the side. And there they were with flowers and music. They were singing and welcome. How do you think I felt? Really special. In Portland, next door to where I live, I pastored there for several years. And one of the things that I did, Pastor Eric, was once a month, I would go to our school, one of our schools, because there were several in the Portland area. I went to one of our schools once a month and would invite all of the students from my church, the Lentz Church, to sit at one table where I served them cookies and ice cream. Once a month, every month. So I would show up at the front desk. The secretary knew I was coming, and she would make an announcement all over. Everybody heard it. All the students from the Lentz Church meet Pastor Brown at such a place. Just a few years ago, I met one of the girls who attended that session, and she said to me, "Pastor, every time you came there and invited us to come and eat ice cream and cookies, I felt so special." I felt so special. Is there anything that I can do, or Pastor Eric can do, to cause you to feel good, special, or significant? Is there anything that a church member here could do to make you feel significant? Visit with me your life. When did you ever in your lifetime feel really good, special, and significant? You felt like saying, everybody, look at me, look at me. When did you ever feel like that? And who made you feel like that? Do you remember anybody? When you come to church on Sabbath morning, has anybody ever, oh, I'm so glad you're here.
Scared.
Pastor Eric, let's go to California at Uncle Roman's house. Do you remember the name of their dog?
Okay.
Uko. Uko. Our relative in California, as he mentioned earlier, we would visit California like every Christmas. COVID has interrupted that. But they have a dog named Uko. Uko made me feel special. You walk in the house, and Uko, wherever Uko is, Uko, you know how those dogs behave. Well, it's just like proverb. Yeah. Has a dog ever made you feel special? But has anyone in this church ever made you feel special? That's really, really my question. The relational definition of the word significance is simple. The feeling of being valuable, appreciated, or being on cloud nine for the moment, or just simply making you feel special. Mankind was formed from the dust or dirt, according to Genesis 2 and verse 7. Genesis 3:19 says, you are dust. Well, putting it all together, it says, we're dirt. And some people think we are dirt. How about this one? Child Guidance, page 45, says, man is very dear to God. Not dirt, man or woman. Testimonies, volume 4 says, God has placed a high value upon the human family. Not on dirt, but on you and upon me. The book Education, page 18 says, higher than the highest human thought can reach is God's ideal, not for dirt, but for his children. That's you. That's me. That's just about how God thinks of us. Psalm 103, for as high as the heavens are above the earth, so great is his love for those who fear him. Great. Have you ever thought that God's DNA is in us? Now we're doing this thing now, going ancestry. I just started it. A relative encouraged me, going back to see who is who. Have you tried your ancestry and recognized that God's DNA is in you and yours in his? 1 John 3:2 says, now we are children of God. Not stepchildren, by the way. Not stepchildren. Children of God. Isaiah 43 says, you people in Troy, you are mine. So, with all of these statements, I come to this question, are we dirt? What do you say? No. No, no. 1,000,000 times no. We're not dirt. We're special. We're significant. And that's why today our presentation is entitled, God Turned Dirt into Significance. God turned Ewart Brown into somebody special. God turned Eric McGill into somebody special. God turned Dennis into somebody special. God turned Jack into somebody. Where did he go? Keep your eyes open, brother. It's all right. I know it's nothing personal. It's okay. Oh, dear. Yes, yes. I'm attracting us today to the word significance. Now, I would like to make you aware that I am aware that I have to be careful how I touch this subject because there are some of the saints who are afraid of the subject. They still think they're dirt. They still think they're nobody. But based on the previous scriptures I read, nothing there suggests to me that I'm dirt. I might have been dirt at some time, but God has transformed me from dirt to significance. So, significance. Still introducing it. I'm suggesting to you that significance is like a wind. When you grasp the concept of significance, then you're grasping something that is like a wind. It's like a stimulant. It's like an energy bar that gives power to soar. And here's a statement that I'm often afraid to make, but no one has proven me wrong. Significance is essential to one's existence as oxygen is to the body. You have to think that one through a little bit. Significance is as essential to our human being and human development as is oxygen to the body. In other words, the people who kill themselves and the people who get nowhere are those who think nothing about their value and themselves. Significance is essential. Now, I can't even count how many. I've had very little resistance of this one, but someone has asked me, isn't it enough what God thinks about us? We know what God thinks about us, but isn't that enough? Well, let me just share with you what God thinks of us. According to John 3:16, for God so loved you, Ewart Brown, that he gave his only begotten son. For God so loved me. That's what God thinks of me. I'm not quite done yet. I have loved you with an everlasting love, says Jeremiah. Or Luke 12:7 says, you are worth more than many sparrows. That's what God is saying about me. Or he says, I love you. I'm excited about you. I am crazy about you. I am passionate about you. I gave everything for you. That's what God says about us. But here's the catch. Candy says, I am significant to God, and I know this, and I feel good about this, but am I significant to you as a member of the Troy Church? See, that's the catch. I am significant to God, indisputable, good thing. But dear friends, there's a difference between living with God and living with humanity, isn't there? I am significant to God, but am I significant to you? God makes me feel significant. That is a given. But here's the question. Will you, and what can you do, or what will you do to cause me to feel significant? Now let me tell you why we are discussing this subject. Because when we put on significance, it's as if we're putting on wings. Because you cannot stop a person who feels good about himself or herself. Significance gives us life. Significance will save our lives. So I'm going to tell you now a few things about significance and the church family. Now this is very important. When we feel significant, when we think that we are someone special, when we think that we are valuable, guess what happened? We behave that way. When we believe it in our minds, our behaviors reflect it. Not only do we behave significance, but we see significance in other people. If you see dirt in yourself, what do you see in other people? Same thing. Dirt. If you feel significant, you will behave that way. And not only do you behave that way, but you will credit other people with the same behavior. Now, dear hearts, I am about to tell you one of the other things that touches my heart. And that really troubles me. There are a lot of people that I know, and you maybe know, who have lived and have died, have passed through this church, and who have never felt special. They might have been members here for years, and they have passed on, either transferred or they have died, and never felt special nor significant. Not only did they not feel significant, but they never gave significance to anybody. My heart still cries. You have heard me say that a million times, haven't you? You believe that I'm a crybaby? Yeah, I am. It's okay. But I cry at this. Because when I went to a church in Salem for the first time, the pastor there said to me, he says, Ewart, Kathy is an unusual church member. By unusual, most churches have one of those dear souls who sits by him or herself, go to fellowship dinner, sits by him or herself, comes and leaves by him or herself. Kathy was one of those. And the pastor says, Ewart, take care of Kathy for me. He left. And I didn't. I didn't. Because I was still human. And there are some people who are just hard to get across to. So I didn't. And I still regret that. Because Kathy's the person who needed me more than anybody else. Church, 900 members, big church. But here's what hurts. I got a call one day. I said, Kathy's in the hospital. And that she's dying. She was in the nursing home, actually. And I went in. And on that bed laid Kathy. She had a little bedside table, and all that was on it was a pitcher with water. There wasn't a nice floral arrangement. There was not a fruit basket. There was no little love. It was bare. She lived in our church for years. Nobody gave her significant treatment. Nobody told her she was significant, and she died the same way. I caused that. My church did. I'm asking you, please, don't let that happen here. The sad thing is, many have lived not feeling significance, and they never gave significance to anybody. They lived, they've died, and all that is left of them is not even a memory. We have, as a church, have not been bold enough to accept the truth about humanity and the truth about Christianity, which I'm about to share with you, that built into our human body. Now remember, friends, our Father is heavenly because He's God, but we are earthly with a goal to someday become heavenly. But until then, we're earthly. We're still human beings. And while we are that and still being Christians, I'm going to walk you through our human experiences. Humanity, built-in desires to be appreciated. Every one of us loves to be appreciated, to feel important, to feel valuable. Please note, by even one person. Everybody in the church doesn't have to love you. Everybody in the church doesn't have to cater to you. But even one person makes a difference. Just one. I am ashamed to tell you what I'm about to tell you, and I know that I'm speaking to the world when I'm speaking this. So I'm going to get myself in trouble now. Is that okay? I go to a church, and I'm not even going to call the name of the church here for protection purposes. But I want you to know that I don't go there for the sermons. I go there for fellowship. I go there for the people who care about me. You know what I think? I'm not alone. I think there are a lot of us who go to church because somebody there cares. We want to be valued by even one person in the church. So the question is, who gets excited when you walk in the church door? Who's anxious to come and sit beside you and give you a hug, or whichever way one chooses to make connection? Who does? Christianity includes that. As Christians, we need that. I have discovered in my lifetime as a pastor that even church members want to feel that they're significant. Is that true? Boy, it must be that potato. Had too much. Is it true in your mind that even Christian church members in Troy Church want to feel significant? Is that true? Yes. Yeah, thank you. It is not okay to be left out. It is not okay to sit alone in church. It is not okay to be left out of the circle of friends. It is not okay to sit alone. And I never really understood what that really meant about sitting alone until a few months ago, or maybe a few years ago. My dear wife has been a pastor. She was the daughter of a pastor. She became the wife of a pastor. We have been on this journey now for years. She's quite independent, When we go to a church, we don't have to sit together. She makes her own friends. I make my own. She's independent. She's intelligent. She's qualified. Can I go say some more, dear? You want more? Or that's enough for now? Okay. One day, we went to a party. It was a birthday party. And everything was full. All the tables were full. There was one table way over here. There was no one sitting there. And so we chose to sit at that table alone. Well, Pastor Eric, how does a pastor go to a party and sit at the table and sit there all the time? You can't do that. You're going to mingle, right? So I've done it a million times. So I got up from the table and I started to mingle. That's what pastors do. And somehow I managed to look over the corner and I saw my dear wife. I've never seen that before. But you know what she was telling me? Don't leave me alone. Don't leave me alone. Nobody wants to be left alone. So I got the message, as any good husband could, gave up the mingling, and I went over and I sat with her. We're still only two at the table. And for the first time, even as an adult pastor, I understood what it meant to sit alone in a crowd. It doesn't feel good. We're not meant to be that. What eased it up was a young man, walked over and he sat, but he was a transient. By that I mean, he only came to talk to me about one of my books, and he would be going back to his table. I just want you to know, at your fellowship dinners, God help you. Please, please, don't allow anyone to have to sit alone. That's not who we are. We like to be a part of. I was talking in a Sabbath school class once about the subject of sitting alone, and one of the elders of our church added, she's divorced, so she comes to church alone, and she spoke of the difficulty of coming to church to sit alone. Couples, I understand it. But if we're going to help our church brothers and sisters to grow healthy, maybe when a couple comes in, you maybe need to look around and see the other individual, the divorcee. And by the way, I don't know how you guys do it here, but every church I go is the same thing. That people who are divorced or people who have had loss by death and are left alone, we tend to avoid them because we don't know how to relate to them. We leave them alone. No, they don't want that. We just don't know how. They need love. They need people. So I'm asking you, be sensitive to that. I recall when we were pastoring in another city, I invited the union director, the union president, to come and speak at my church. And he came. He was so dignified, he was so respected that the people gave him a whole pew all by himself. Nobody wanted to defame him or pollute him to sit in the same pew with him. So he had a whole pew all by himself. Don't do it. Please don't let it happen. So in the mornings when you wake up, you pray, or when you come to church, you pray that God will direct you who to sit with. Now, when people do not feel significant, when they do not feel significant, here are some behaviors that you can expect. They have low self-esteem, which will last for quite a while, or they overcompensate trying to get attention, or they're basically negative. They speak against most things, or they're just simply a problem. Or they withdraw. They will resign from positions. They don't attend social occasions because they feel as if they're isolationist, okay? They're skeptical about most things. And because of all of this negativism that has captivated their total being, they end up making poor, regrettable decisions in life. And they wouldn't understand why, because there is no doctor out there that is going to tell them why. But you and I know it's just a composition of negativism, exclusivism that has built up in their psyche. And they make decisions that they're not even aware of. They also will experience depression, physical and mental illness. And you and I, neither would this person realize that it all happened because nobody at church gave me attention. Hard to measure, but I'm giving it to you. On the other hand, when you have a church member who is experiencing significance, it's present. This person feels very present and people care. These are the behaviors you can expect. They're self-motivated. They're dreamers. They think outside of the box. They are achievers. They do things and they're accomplished. They're sociable. They run around like bees. They're courteous. They're delightful. They're just a great company to be with, but I'm not done. They're calm, confident. They love church. And they are kind, nice. These are the people who feel significant in church, and they are ready to soar. And you can't stop these people. We're discussing the subject of this significance for a couple of reasons. Number one, because of partnership. Partnership that we have with God. Let me explain. God is a creator. God is a creator. But you and I are re-creators. Allow me to use that expression. God is a creator, the original maker. But you and I, by encouraging people, by the nice things we say about people, we change their perspective. We change their point of view. We give them a different sense of value. That's where we are partners with God. So put it this way, God is the creator, we are the recreators. I am discussing this subject because of the partnership that we share with God. The second reason that I'm talking about this is because I would like personally, and so would Pastor Eric, that the Troy Church will rather master the art of making other church members feel significant. And I'm getting ready to tell you how you can do that. The two reasons why we're discussing this subject, number one, we're partners with God. He's the creator, we're the recreators. Number two, we would like the members, you guys who are here, to master the art of making other church members feel significant. So, here's a question. Pastor Brown, how? What can I do to make someone feel significant? 7 points, and I'm running through them rather quickly. I call them the flower pot of significant starters. The flower pot of significant starters, and those of you who had a lesson guide, study sheet, they're all there. There's 7 of them. I'm running through them. Number one, something very simple that you and I can do to make a church member feel significant is to give them a gift. Simply give them a gift card. By the way, do you guys have dollar store around here? You do? Good. So you know what? You want $1? Go to, no, you know what? It's $1.25 now. Yeah. Inflation. Go to the dollar store. Buy a little object, because it doesn't matter what you give, is the thought behind what you give. Give a church member when it is least expected. Send them a card, let them receive it in the middle of the week, or a gift, or give it to them on Sabbath. But then you need to know their gift language. In other words, here in Idaho, do you have water around here? I mean, like lakes? You have lakes? So you don't do fishing here. No, good. So if I'm going to give you a gift, Dennis, I shouldn't bring you a hook, a fishing line, because you don't have any water to go fishing. Okay? So I'm going to give you a snowplow. How is that? Okay. You like that, don't you? Okay, so make sure you know the language, the love language of the church member. Give them a gift. That's one thing you need to do. All right, the second thing that you can do to make a church member feel significant is what I call work his or her strengths, which is simple this. If it's a teacher, find a position, a writer, get them to write for the bulletin, an artist, let them draw for the kids. If they're people-oriented, put them in the lobby. If they're tasks, give them tasks. If they're musical, put them to work. Let people work their strengths. Shh. Don't depend on the nominating committee to do it all, because sometimes they don't know. But when you know, work with your pastor. So that's number 2. Number 3, to make somebody feel significant, simply remember memorables. Because that's what people will remember. Things like success. They passed an examination, a significant examination. My granddaughter just passed her nursing board a few weeks ago. And love, you need to remember that, not me, you. That remember her date, and next year, God's willing, if we're still here, send her something, a bouquet to say, this is in honor of you passing your nursing board the other day. Remember memorables. Remember anniversary and birthdays. And by the way, church, what are your names? Robin. And?
Terrence.
Terrence.
Wow.
Robin and Terrence. You were baptized in April, right? And married in April. So guess what? This church is going to give you a gift. Good. Remember memorables. Their baptismal date and their marriage date. Another thing that you can do is give attention. Walk in and sit beside somebody or work with somebody. Let somebody feel special because you came and sat beside me. Have a conversation with somebody. You are very valuable to this church. Talk to me about me. I like this one. Have a conversation. I went into the fire chief's office in my city, and I began to talk to him about some issues, how the fire department can benefit the community. And he said to me, notice now, is the fire chief saying this to me. He says, Ewart, do you have any ideas? The fire chief is asking me if I have ideas. And then you know what he did? Not only did he ask me, but he took out a piece of paper and his pen, getting ready to write. My idea. Did you think I felt good? Come on now. Do you think I felt good? Absolutely. To make somebody feel significant, have a conversation with them and ask them questions. Have them bring their ideas to you and be sure you are writing it. And by the way, when they give you an idea and you write it, shh, you better do it. Modify it somewhat. Conversation, I want to tell you what is happening to me. All right, and then number 6, I learned this one very recently, so this one is new to my presentation. To make a person feel significant, can you imagine? Just smile. Just smile. See, our tendency in this society is to walk straight face. Just mind your own business. Someone brought this to my attention, that if you just looked at me and smiled, you are giving me a gift. Because you're saying to me, I care about you. And a smile does that. And how much does it cost to smile? You know, there's a stat out, I don't know if you, about how many muscles it takes to frown versus how many muscles it takes to smile. It's a lot easier to smile than to frown. So number 6, and then in conclusion, the last thing to do to make a person feel significant, which is the very hardest one to do, is to ask them, what can I do to make you feel significant? This one is not mine originally. Someone else gave that to me. And one day I decided to test it on my wife. That was a bold thing to do. So I'm going to ask her. So I really struggled with it. So I had the courage and I went up and I said, what can I do to make you feel significant? I'm not going to tell you what she said. Or would you like to know? You do? Really? Yes. But I'm not going to tell you. I couldn't believe. You know what? I don't even remember if she remembers that conversation, but I do. But I'm going to tell her what she said. What I can't do to make her feel significant. When I'm in the garden, just come stand beside me. When I'm in the garden, just come stand beside me. Ask. I bet you guys are afraid to ask your kids, your spouse, your family members here at the church, what can I do to make you feel significant? So here are the 7 significant starters to help your church family to grow, to stick together, and to get ready for the kingdom. What you can do for them? Give them a gift. Utilize their strengths. Remember memorable dates of their lives. Give them attention. Go sit with them. Talk to them. Have conversations that have some meaning. A simple smile. Now, what I did not include with smile is, oh dear. Quickly, I know my time is running out, but you started late anyhow. But I'll get it done. I'm going to tell you one story. Smile is one simple thing that you can do. When I pastored in the Upper Columbia Conference, we had a pastor's conference at Camp Maivodan. And it was for a weekend. No, it wasn't a weekend. It was 3 days, I think from Sunday or Monday through Wednesday. At the end of the pastor's conference at Camp Maivodan, all the pastors were leaving. And 2 things happened to me. Standing at the door was Dr. John Dibdall. Any of you heard that name? Yeah. I had met Dr. Dibdall somewhere else before we knew each other. And honestly, Dennis, all the pastors went by and he shook their hands. When Ewart came, he hugged me. I haven't showered since. You wonder why I still remember that. It's a lot of years ago. He hugged me. Not all of us is the hugging culture. The next one I'm telling you is worse. The president then was Jim Reynolds. Those of you who've been around Jim Reynolds? Jim Reynolds was standing by it. And I'm not sure what he did to all the pastors. But when I came by, he did like what the football players would do. He tapped me on the buttocks I haven't showered since either. But I still remember that. What brings me to this, I said, to show how you care, a smile would do. But not only a smile, a hug will do, or a tap on the buttocks will do. Now, be careful now. Don't go telling nobody. Just don't go around tapping people. Tap them on the shoulder. That's better. Unless your hands slip. But tap on the shoulder. My point is connect. Got it? Connect. Ask. All right, I'm telling you one last story. And then we're taking a break, and then we'll come back for our final session. Last story. A family moved in next door to us. They had a dog. And the dog's name was Marley. Marley was vicious. When you went by the fence, you felt like a lion or a tiger was there to eat you. And it was cyclone fence. Scary. One day the owner says, "Here are some dog biscuits. Why don't you give Marley a biscuit?" So I offered Marley a biscuit. Of course, he timidly came, and Marley had a biscuit, and another biscuit, and another biscuit, to the extent that we had two doors going to our backyard. One from the back coming straight out, and one was on the side. My wife and I, either one of us, just need to crack that door a bit. That makes a little noise, and Marley hears it, and Marley is at the fence, down on her knees, waiting for love and her biscuit. You know what was funny? The family would often tell us this, that they knew when the Browns were at home because Marley spent no time in the house. Marley was out in the backyard with us. Rain or shine, Lynn and I would be in the garden, and Marley is sitting on the ground right across from us. And all it took was some dog biscuit, a treat. You know what? Even people love biscuit. Even people love biscuit. Whether it be Rhonda or Jennifer or Sue, why do they come to church? Because they love Jesus. They love the church. They love the Troy family. They get treats. They get attention. But they get significance. They know that they're valuable. Dear hearts, why don't you take me serious this afternoon and learning to start giving biscuits to your church family? Maybe just one person. Just one. What if each one gave one? Just one. Let me know that I am significant. That's my plea. Don't hide it from me. Don't hold it back from me, please. And don't hinder it from following me. Dr. Arlene Taylor says, others may not remember exactly what you said or did or even how you looked, but their brains will always remember how they felt in your presence. You made me feel significant. And I will love you forever. Is there just one thing that you're going to take away today? Quickly now. Is there just one thing that I've said, that you've heard, that you're going to take away from here today? Anyone? Yes, please. Sonny?
Yes, I feel like we have a group of ladies that like to, they call themselves Secret Sisters. And I thought about when you talked about the significant starters, that what kind of gift we can give to someone. It doesn't have to be a secret, but she said that we wouldn't find out until the end of the year who that person was, because we would send it anonymously.
Yes.
But this doesn't have to be anonymous. It can be anytime for whoever.
Give a gift, and it does not have to be anonymous. Well, to tell you the very truth, and my wife and I have processed that, I do not do well with anonymous gifts. I want to know it's from your heart to my heart. So hand it to me or put your name on it. Yep, it doesn't have to be anonymous. Okay, one other? Anyone else? One thing you're taking? All right, take a break. And we're coming back for our last session. And our last session is actually the most challenging of all. Enjoyed being with you. Take a break and come on back. We'll finish up. Take 5 minutes, please, and see you then.